Okay, on this one, now they want us to factor this expression. Now, notice this has 3 terms. So we can't do grouping. We can't do what's in common. So I want you to notice first off that they don't, there's nothing they all have in common, right? W doesn't go into all of them. This guy doesn't have a W. So they don't all have W in common. They don't have any number. This one has no number in front. So there's no number that goes into all of them. There's no letter. They don't have any letter. They have nothing in common to all 3. And they're not 4 terms. So we can't do grouping. We can't do like first 2, last 2, because there's only 3 terms. There's not 4. What do we do? Well, that's how do we factor 3 terms? When you factor 3 terms, what we're going to do is we're going to write add over the middle, multiply over the top. So let me write it right here. Let me write it right here. Factoring. Factoring 3 terms. What do you do? Find 2 numbers that A, multiply to equal the 3rd number, add to equal the middle number. So that's why I wrote multiply to be the 3rd number, add to be the middle number. You want to find 2 numbers that multiply to be the 3rd number, multiply to be 24, and add to be the middle number. Oh, and I, you know what, I skipped the first step. Factoring, so yeah. Let me back it up. I'm jumping the gun. I mean, that's the most important part, but right here. Factoring when you have 3 terms. So this is all step number 2. Step number 1, you write 2 parentheses, x, and you got to find a number and a number. So that's the first step. So I'm going to write 2 parentheses and x, in this case, W, whatever your letters, W's in the front. Why is that? Because W times W will go back to W squared. So W's in the front, right? We're trying to find out what would multiply to go back to this. Now, I got to find these 2 numbers in the back. How do you find these numbers in the back? They have to multiply to be 24. They got to add to be 11. Okay, so let's think about what that might be. So what 2 numbers multiply to equal 24? What 2 numbers multiply to be 24? Well, 4 times 6 is 24. What else? 2 times 12 is 24. What else? 1 times 24 is 24. What else am I missing? What else multiplies to be 24? You can use your calculator if you're not sure.
8 times 3.
There we go. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay. Now those are a whole bunch of numbers that, notice I'm doing the back number first. I'm doing numbers that multiply to be the 3rd number, that multiply to be 24. Now, among those options, these are all options. They all multiply to be 24. Which of them add to be 11? Which of them add to be 11?
3 times 8.
8 and 3. Yeah. That's the ones that add to be 11, right? 4 and 6 adds to be 10. This is 14, 25. 3 and 8 add to be, so that's your pair. It's 8 and 3, 3 and 8. It doesn't matter what order. You put the 8 first, then the 3, vice versa. It doesn't matter at all. Both plus signs, we're done. That's the answer. Now, that might seem where you might say, whoa, that's it. That was weird that we're done. Let me prove it. No, we are done. There's nothing more you have to do. We are done. Let me check it to make sure it's really right. Remember how you check, how you multiply out this kind of thing? Remember the first one goes to both. So that's W squared plus 3W. And then the 8 goes to both. Plus 8W plus 24. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Remember how to multiply? The first one goes to both. They take turns, right? And then he's done. And then the second one goes to both. Okay. And then remember these middle 2 are like terms. So 3W and 8W is 11W. See? Check. See, it went back to the original. It really is right. this is really what multiplies to go back to this. And that's what factoring is, to reverse multiply, to find out what would multiply to go back to your original thing. And this is what would multiply. See how that worked? And you see when we do the check, we see how what happened in the check, see how these two guys actually added? And where'd we get the 24 from? They multiplied, the 8 and the 3 multiplied. That's why the back term comes from multiplying and the middle term comes from adding. Because that's just what happens when you multiply two terms times two terms. That's why when we were trying to find out what would work, we thought that backwards. We thought what multiplies to be the back number, what adds to be the middle number. So we're done. So again, the answer, I hope I didn't confuse you by doing so much stuff. The answer is right here. That is the answer. 2 parentheses, W plus 8, W plus 3. Either order, you can have the 3 first, then the 8. Either way, it doesn't matter. Here we go.